Hi everyone, my name is Sandra DeCastro and this is Paint with Faith. Paint with Faith is a motivational painting company where we believe that you can do all things, and we want you to believe that as well. So I want you to repeat after me. If I believe, I can achieve. One more time with passion. Repeat after me. If I believe, I can achieve. Awesome. Great. Here at Paint with Faith, we believe that there are no mistakes in art, just room for opportunities. So if you make a mistake, just turn that into an artistic expression, and then it won't be a mistake anymore. So also at Paint with Faith, our motto is keep away the negativity. So if you have any doubts, just snap 3 times and snap away the negativity. Okay, so now this, as you know, is called a canvas. Not a canvas, but a canvas. Why? Because you can do all things. So now let's make sure that we have everything that we need today. Today, I'm gonna make a love sign. In a previous video, I did a sign like this, a love sign in this direction with the letters stacking up on top of each other. But today, I'm doing another sign, but the letters are going to be straight across. Okay, so make sure that you have the correct colors that we need for today. With me, I have a plate full of colors. I have a little bit of black, a lot of white, and red paint. Make sure you have a lot of white paint because we're going to be using those 2 colors a lot today. And make sure you have a bowl of water. I happen to have a glass of water. Some paint brushes. I'm gonna be mixing my medium today. I'm gonna use something called molding paste by Liquitex. This is molding paste, okay? You can find this at Michael's or Hobby Lobby, and it normally costs around $16 or $17 at the time when I bought it. Maybe the price have changed now because I've had this for a little while. And of course, maybe a paper towel or a rag towel, if you like. And that's it. So now let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is paint my background pink. I want it to be a very light pink. So I'm going to mix my white paint. Okay, I'm going to use a big brush. Or maybe I'm going to use a bigger brush today. Sometimes I mix the paint on the canvas itself. So, before I start doing that, I'm gonna wake up my canvas with some water, just a little dab, just one little dab of water, not too much, just to wake up my canvas. I don't want to use too much water because I don't want it to drip. You don't want any dripping, just a little bit of water. Wake up my canvas with some water. Okay, you can't see that from your angle, but just a little bit of water shall do the trick. And I go really fast so nothing drips. That's it. Left to right strokes is what I'm using. Up and down. It's not rocket science. So, okay. And then I'm going to get a big brush. And I'm gonna paint my white paint on here. And then take some red paint, mix the 2 colors together. Okay. 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 Get some more white paint. Feel free to rewind the video and you can slow it down as much as you want. But I am blending my colors on the canvas itself. And I'm using left to right strokes. And I want my paint to be kind of thin. So I'm experimenting today. So I'm adding some water. So I want it to mix. Okay. Okay. And I'm going to add some more white because I want it to be pale. I want it to be a light shade of pink. Okay. There you go. I'll paint my sides while I'm at it. Okay. And then that's my background. So I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to clean off my brush. I think I hear rain outside. Oh. So let me give you a better angle. Okay. And that's the shade of pink that I created today. I think I want it a little bit lighter. So I'm going to take a little bit of water. Okay. Get into my white paint. See if I can make it lighter. Okay, do you see that? Okay. That's a pretty shade of pink. I used up all my white paint already. So I'm gonna get some more white paint. and I'm gonna mix it on the canvas itself. See if I can get a lighter shade of pink. I'm adding water to my brush because I want the paint to be thinner, not so thick. And then I'm using my left to right strokes. Now I have a plastic cloth. I could spray directly on the canvas, but it might drip and I don't want dripping. So I'm spraying a little bit of water on my brush. And it makes it easier to manipulate the paint. And now it's a lighter shade of pink. It's getting lighter. I want it really light. So I'm gonna add more white paint. Sometimes you just have to play with the color, with the colors. Until you get it to where you want it to be. I guess this is a mixing class today, mixing colors today. So I'm experimenting. See, there are no mistakes in art. So let's see. Okay. I kind of like the white backgrounds. Let's see if I could just leave it in there so it doesn't get mixed up too much. I'm gonna drag it across. I'm gonna wet my brush, some water. I like how my experiment is coming along. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna leave the sides alone for now because I'm grabbing the left side of the canvas. And of course, I always get paint on my fingers. Those things happen. That's just part of the territory. Oh, sorry, I'm moving the camera around too much. In any case, so we're gonna let this dry. Let's see if I have something to fan it with, something that could make it dry faster. It's very wet. Okay. Let's see if I can get a fan or a card. Okay, while this is taking some time to dry, and it's starting to dry already, next we're going to do is mix some other two colors. Now, my method for figuring out where I'm going to place my letters is I'm going to use the size of my hands to get an idea of where to draw the first letter. So each letter should be approximately the size of my hand. So my hands are not that big, but I'm just going to eyeball it. And what I'm going to do is draw like the outline of the first letter, L, with the red color paint. Okay. So L, O, but it's going to be a heart shape instead. And I'm going to build from there. And I'm just going to eyeball it for now. The letter E. The letter E. The letter V. Okay, that's just for placement. Okay. So my L. This is the letter L. Okay. So approximately, that's it. I'm going to build from here. Okay, so that way you can have a good idea of how to space your letter. This is how I do it. I eyeball it, okay? And now I want to build a heart. And I think I want my letters overlapping each other. So I think I want to see. Let me focus on the heart. I'm gonna make it a little bit bigger. I'm using a brush that's kind of like a round shape tip to it so that it's easier to draw round shapes with something like this. It's a good tool to have. Okay. So once I have my skeleton, the foundation drawn, then I can build from there. And if I need to make corrections, I can do that as well. I can always fix it. I'm filling in my heart. I'm focusing on the heart first. Let's see. I'll make this bigger on this side. And then filling in the heart with red paint. And if it's uneven, I can always fix it. It might be uneven, and I think it is. So I'm gonna fix it. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to the letter L. Let's see. I want to add a little pizzazz to my L shape. I'm going to change brushes. So this brush here, I'm washing it off first. Washing my brush. I'm going to be off camera from time to time so you can have a better view. So just washing the brush. Wiping it clean. The brushes, very important. So now I'm switching to another brush. I could find, well, the one that I like to use. Oh yeah. I'm switching to an angle brush. So this is the angle brush that I'm using. Has a nice angle. Okay. It's good for little details. So right here, I'm focusing on my letter L. Okay. Right along the base, I'm using the red paint. To correct whatever I need correcting. And building also I want to fix over here the top part. I'm giving a slight little slant to the shape of the L. Just red paint for now. Okay. I'm gonna come down to the bottom part over here. Now I want to create like a little loop right about so. So I'm going back to the other brush that has the round tip to it, a roundish tip to it, to draw like a circle here. So I'm drawing the circle first. Okay. Drawing like a little circle. Draw like a little circle. This is the perfect brush for drawing any type of circle. Fill it in and connect the two. Connect the two. And over here, I don't want it to be a straight line, so I'm just gonna create like a little curve. I want a nice little curve. Nice little curve over here too. I think I'm gonna curve this out also. I'm gonna curve this out. That looks too boxy to me. I don't want that. So let's see if I could do that with the other brush. See if I can fix the one. Okay. Let's take a look. Let's see. See if I can go in there. Sometimes it's good to turn your canvas around to get a better angle of everything. Okay. Can you see that? Okay. So go in here. So I'm going to turn this canvas upside down. Okay. See how that's looking over here on this side. Okay, we'll fix this. And then also, I want to go inside here, clean this up a little bit, right? I'm using this pointed angle brush to get at the tip of the heart with my red paint. Right now I'm not using any other color but red for now. Fix that, right? Clean up these edges here before we add anything. So I'm going to turn it back around, back to the top. Let's see how that's looking. Okay, I'm going to let these two dry for now. These two. I'm going to even let the V dry also. I'm going to focus now on the letter E. Let's focus on the letter E. I don't need this anymore. Put this aside. The letter E. The letter E needs some love. Let's see. How do I want my E to look? All right. He's too straight, so let's see if I can give it a shape here. Let's see here. We'll build the letter E, round it out over here, starting at the upper corner of this side of the letter E, adding some red paint. And I want to round it, give like a slight roundish shape to it. Around, let's see if I could do this. Building the letter E. Okay, and then bring it down this way. Right. Gonna round out this back part of the letter E. Round it out. And then on top here, fill this in with red paint. Then the letter E needs to have the middle part, otherwise it doesn't look like a letter E, does it? So let's do that. The bottom part here, I'm gonna round this out here. And then I'm gonna add a little stem over here. Okay. And something over here. Let's see if I could make this a little fatter. Okay. Use up all my red paint. Now I'm going to draw a little circle here with my same brush here. Little circle. Fill in the circle. And then I'm turning the brush around and I'm going to connect the two. I'm making the circle a little bit bigger. It's too small. Let's make it a little bit bigger. All right, a little bit bigger. Then connect it and fill that in. Now, let's finish the top portion of the letter E here. And add it up. I'm gonna create like little stem here. And I think I'm gonna add a little something over here to the end over here. Hopefully these guys are drying before I go back in there. All right, so this is the base. The V is still drying, but I'm gonna let it dry for now. Buying myself some time. Okay, let's clean this brush. Let's take a look. It's my sign. My love sign for Valentine's Day theme coming up next month in February. So we're still in January. Happy New Year to everybody, just in case I didn't mention that earlier. So I'm switching back to my favorite brush there. I love angle brushes. Almost any size. I don't care if it's a small one or a big size, like a larger size. I like angle brushes in general. It's one of my favorite tools to use when I'm painting. All right, so let's see. Where can I focus for? Let's see, I want to get the shape right. So little strand of hair sticking out, that can mess up a painting sometimes. If you got little whiskers, take a scissors and trim them off, you know, if they start to stick out. In any case, I'm going to put like a little point here. See? And speaking of which, that little strand of hair just made a mark on my painting, and I didn't want that. Let's see if I could smush it in there. Okay, so let's see if I could go in there. Put my point the way I want it. So that's the little point that I just made. Let's see if I could go in here and fix my E. And then over here, maybe I could draw like a little point over here too. So I think I want to do that little point, right? I draw like a straight line at an angle. And then I'm going to connect the two and fill it in real quick. And go in here at the bottom, make like a little V shape. Okay, and then this part of the E, let's see, let's do something interesting here. Go like a straight, curvy shape, kind of. And then I'm going to go like this, straight line from top to bottom. Another line from top to bottom. Connect the two on the bottom here. And then go like this, straight across on top. Okay, and then fill it in with some red paint. Let's clean this on the bottom here. Something's going on here. So add some red paint over here. Let's fix this around the shape here. Gotta fix it. Add some more red paint. Okay. Let's see, I'm gonna fix the bottom here. Same little brush. Curver, little curvy swip. Just the letter E. So now the others are starting to dry. the heart is still drying or doing something. Letter V. So I'm gonna let him dry. I still want these two to dry. Before I start building that letter V, because I want this part of the V to overlap into, well, I want it to touch. Let's see, so this is not touching. So maybe the V can touch here. Yeah, I want the V to go into here. This is not touching. How's it looking from your side? Let's see. All right, let's build the V, the heart in the V. Maybe I should build this more so it could touch. It's too far apart. So I may go in here. Yeah, it was too far away. All right, so now the letter V. Letter V. It's too small. We gotta bring out the letter V some kind of way, right? Let's see. So I'm eyeballing this. I think I want to add a little bit of black. I want something dramatic to make it stand out. So here's what I'm gonna do. Ran out of white paint. Let's get some clean white paint. Gonna need that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the very tip of my slanted brush, the very tip. This tip is this part of the very end of this tip of the brush, and very little. See, very little. You can barely see that. See, I'm gonna find an empty spot, mix it with some red paint, mix it. I'm not mixing it totally, okay? And I'm just gonna add a little bit of white. Let's see. Go straight across. Dipping into my red paint. No mixing. No mixing. Let's see. I'm gonna add like a curve shape. Slight curve. Curve. Curve, 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 all the way down. All the way down, all the way down. Slight curve. Then do the same here. Curve, curve, point. Right? I'm talking out loud to myself, as you can see. And then I want to curve over here. Slight curve coming back inward. Curve, more curve. And fill this in with red paint. Go back in, fill it in with the red paint. then more of a slant. I want to build my letter V. It's the whole point here. Building, add more red paint. Okay. And taking the same small brush, going into my red paint, I'm going right in here, and then I'm gonna create like a curve, connecting to the rest of the body. Fill it in. Okay. See if I could get it to the shape I want here. Make this a little bigger. I'm going to add a little bit of black to my red. So now I have to go in here and play with this. I want it to have like a fat shape right about so. Right about here. That's right about here. This. Building, building, building. Keep going, keep going. Okay, so just fill this in with the paint. Then I'm going to step back and take a look and see what I need to do next here. Okay. Oops. Fix that. Okay. So now it's basically done, but now I'm gonna add highlights and tones and shadow to build up each letter so they can each have character. Is this dry yet? Ah, finally the background is dry. So now I can touch it. Just turn it around. Let's see what else needs to be done here. Okay. I like to look at everything from all sides to see what needs to be done. So feel free to do that with your canvas as well. Look at all the shapes. Okay, so we're gonna let this dry. So I'm going to come back to the letter L. I'm gonna mix some white paint, some red paint, It's going to be light. So light, dark, light, light, dark. So dark, light, okay. So each letter is going to be slightly different. This is going to be darker, this is going to be lighter, since they're touching into that, they're overlapping with each other. Would have been nice had I made, but I didn't do that, so I have to go with what I created already, because I can't move them, and the heart is, and I don't want them to be too warped. Can I do that without altering? Let's see, this is big. I can build these two. They're a little smaller than the E and the L. So maybe I can, maybe. We'll see. In the meantime, I'm going to focus on the letter L right now. So I mixed earlier some red, some white, and I dipped the brush downward. No mixing, just dipping it in each color. The colors on the brush will create the effect that we want. See how they're not mixed on the brush? However it shows up on the canvas is what I'm looking for. It's gonna let me know. Okay, so I'm gonna use like little feathery strokes. I call it feathery strokes, so that I can a little bit of water. Okay, little feathery strokes starting on the corners of my L. Okay, I'm going to get more white, just white alone, no mixing. See what I'm doing? A little bit of white. A little bit of white. Feathery strokes. Okay. I like those feathery strokes. That's my technique, that's my style. Everyone has their own style. I'm adding more white as I go along the way. Everyone has their own way of expressing their artistic talents. You are the artist. You decide how you want it to look. You have to feel it. So for me, this is what I like. Then I'm gonna go in here. I'm using round strokes to go in here. Okay. I'm gonna get some more white, and I'm not mixing. Okay. And I'm going in there. As I get closer to the bottom of the L, I'm going to add more red. A little bit of white. Some red. I'm gonna get some more red. I'm going into that circle. Some white. Maybe a little black. That's too black. That's not what I wanted, but that's okay. Mix it with some red. It's funny, as I'm trying to correct the black dot mistake, when I add the red, it gives me this deeper shadow, like I don't know, like a what's the color I'm looking for? Like a dark red. So I go into my red paint. If it's too much on the brush, I just tap it on the plate to get rid of any excess. Or sometimes I don't. Sometimes whatever is on the brush itself, I may use it. So I know that this is a curve, and I want circular motions winding into each other. So that's the direction that I'm going to use. Some more red paint. And I work it in there. I'm gonna get some more black paint. Go to the bottom. Black and red together. Go to the bottom of the letter. More red paint. Red only. And I'm pulling at the paint. I'm adding more red paint to my brush. I'm dragging it. More red paint going in here. And I love that effect. I'm gonna go in here in the bottom, create some shadow. Yep, create some shadow. Some more red. Some white. Pink. Pink, 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 pink. Red. Some red. Along the line of the L color. Okay. In the back part, want some darker shadow. Some darker shadow. Maybe some black on the backhand side over here. Let's see. Right along here. Okay. From that little tip here. Some white. And let that dry a little bit. So now let's focus on the heart. Okay, so dark, light, dark. We'll leave this alone. Let me go into the letter V. I want that to be a darker letter. So I'm gonna mix some red and black together. I'm gonna go here in the bottom. Okay. Black and red together creates like a bloody red color. So, yep. So I'm working my way up. Now, just the red. Only red. I didn't clean off my brush. No. Excuse me. Don't rinse off the brush. Don't touch the water. If you get tempted, don't do it. Okay. So all in here. So black. Bloody. Yep. Maybe a little bit of white somewhere over here. I like that gray tone. Red. Just red. Okay. Okay, now let's come over here to the belly that I created earlier. I'm gonna make it fatter, even more round. Okay. I'm making a more dramatic point. You just add black and red. Okay. Red, red, red. Red. More red. Okay. Gonna add it to the back part of the V. Okay. I'm gonna add some white on top. A little bit of white here. White strokes. Some strokes. A little bit of white. Some white on top. Okay. Gonna clean the small brush. Let's take a look. All right, so now let's give some attention to the heart. Should be dry by now. I believe it is. I'm gonna use a bigger brush right now. And I'm going to get some more red paint. So I want to build up the heart. I'm dipping my brush into the red color paint. Give it a second coat. Giving a second coat. Fill it in. Okay. Fill it in. Create a nice second coat. Fill up all those empty spaces, those hollow spaces. Turn the canvas around. Go in here. Now I'm going to mix it with some white to get like a lighter shade of pink. Okay. All right. Lighter shade of pink, add some more white. Okay, turn the canvas around. So with the big slanted brush, even though this is the size of the brush, even it's bigger than the other one, you can still get into the corners very nicely because it's an angle brush. And I found throughout my years of using this type of brush, I'm still able to get in there, even if it's a larger size brush. So. Okay. Get some white in there. All right. Nice. I'll turn this around. Get in there. Mixing the colors on the canvas itself. So it's a lighter shade. But now I want to create some little patterns and some, you know, I don't know if I want to use this brush to do that. I like the smaller brush because I just feel more comfortable using that brush, that size brush. You don't have to if you don't want to. If you feel comfortable using a brush of this size, then you are welcome to do that. Okay. I'm using all my paint on my brush. I don't want to waste any paint. So sometimes I like to wipe the brush clean of the paint just by pressing against, for example, I'll show you from the side view. I press against the canvas like this, and I use up all the paint on the brush. That way, I don't waste any paint. Okay? So there you have that. I'm going to clean this big brush. I'm going back to the smaller brush. So always wipe your brushes before using it when you take it out. You don't want any excess water on your brush so it doesn't drip on your canvas. You don't want any streaks going down. So wipe the water from the entire brush. Let me clean this brush in the meantime, in case I need to use it. Okay. Cleaning, 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 cleaning. So let's take a look at where we're at so far. So yeah, here's my sign. Take a look. Okay. I'm going to use my small brush for some detail work. So I'm going to get some red and a little bit of black. Right, a little bit of black, a little bit of red. And I'm going to go on the bottom here. And create some shadow. I call it shadow. Maybe it's not really shadow, but some depth, some oomph, some pizzazz, some oomph, some character. Yeah, there you have it. Some character, some personality. Yeah, you want each one to have some personality. There you go. Some personality to each character. There you go. So I'm using some downward feathery strokes to give it some character. Now I'm gonna add some little specks of white. No mixing. I'm just dipping my brush into each color as I mentioned, like I did earlier. Okay, see the little guy, which I like, gives me the little strokey effects that I like. So I'm just adding a little bit of color, some red, maybe a little bit of black, just a little bit, not too much, on the bottom here. And on the sides. And pulling it inward. I'm pulling it inward. And I like to use downward strokes. So now I'm getting closer to the V. So I'm going to add a little white. I'm going to pull some red in here. Okay. But as I get into this corner here, I want some contrast between the two. So since they're touching, add some white here. Right along the edge of the letter V. Right? Adding some red. Okay. And that's how I'm feeling it. I think I like that. I'm adding some white. And I'm going to add some red. I ran out of red paint, so adding some more. Okay. So I'm gonna grab some red, and in between my white and my red, I'm adding those two. Those are the two. And then I'm gonna add maybe a little, what kind of effect I'm gonna get here. Yeah, some red in between. Some white. Some red. Some white. And some white on the top over here too. And some white. Going along the shape of the heart. So my strokes are circular in motion. I'm dipping in some red paint. No mixing. Okay. My letter V, I'm going to add some red here. It looks kind of flat to me. Okay. Sometimes while you're doing one letter, you may catch something catches your attention in the other letter, and then you want to go back and make some changes. So that's what I'm doing now. So I'm making some necessary changes because I got inspired to do that. And then add some white. Oh, that looks better. Okay, so dark, light. Is that dark enough? Do you think that letter L is dark enough? It's supposed to be darker than the heart, so I'm going to make it a little bit darker. I'm going to add some red and some black together again on my brush. I'm just dipping the brush into the paint color, no mixing. Let's see if I could make this a little darker somehow. I'm going to test it on the bottom. Okay. See how that works on the bottom. Over here. Get some more red. And some more red. Some more red. Some more red. Don't get me to singing. Although I like to sing. But we're not singing now. Okay. Right. This is supposed to be a darker letter and it was looking too light. Add some red. I don't want it to be black. Play with the colors. You gotta play. Play. Right. Play. Okay. So now it looks darker. Okay, let me add some white in there. Some white highlights. Oh. Some white highlights, just some highlights here and there. Okay. Some white highlights. White highlights here. Just some white on top. Okay. And over here. Nope. Red. And some white highlights on top. Okay. I think that's okay. Take a look here. Some red. Okay, so now let's fix this little faux pas here. Okay. I'm going to turn this canvas around So I could get in here and fix my letter V from this angle. So I'm mixing my red and my black together just for a little bit here to get the bottom. Right in here. Right in there. Okay. Connect it. There you go. So now the letter E. What do we want to do with the letter E? He's the last letter to come finish and complete. So I just stretched my back. It's like a little cracking. Okay, so the letter V is done for the most part. So now the letter E. I'm going to clean my brush because I want this letter to be lighter, like the heart has to be lighter. Dark, light, dark, light. So let's clean the brush. I'm going to get some, wipe it on the towel, of course. I'm going to get some white paint and I'm going to mix it, a little bit of my red paint here, make a lighter shade of pink here that I used earlier. This time I am going to mix the color so I can get the shade that I want. At least it's going to be ready for me as I use it. So I'm creating this shade of pink. It's like a sandy, darker pink tone. Let's see. All right, so now let's give it that second coat. Give it a second coat. Oh, it has too much water in here. So I'm giving it a second coat. I'm filling in the letter E with that pink shade. Okay. And then, while it's still wet, I'm gonna mix my colors in there. So let me get my shade of pink here going. So I think it's lighter. So far it's lighter. Okay. It's lighter. It's getting lighter. Excuse me. It's getting lighter, 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 lighter. Okay. Okay. So now I'm gonna dip my brush into my red color paint. I'm not mixing. I'm just gonna add it to the areas where I want to see it. On the bottom here, the bottom of it over here. Maybe mix it together here, on the bottom. Okay, on the bottom, go in here. Okay. Get some more red paint. All right. So now I'm going to add just a little bit of black paint, very little, like I showed you earlier, and I'm going to mix it with my red paint. Go in here in the bottom. Okay. The bottom of the letter is going to be darker because my light source is coming from on top. So of course, as you get to the bottom of any letter, it's going to be darker. That's my creation. So I'm creating some darker tones in those areas on the bottom. Also, I'm going to go in here, right? I have to go in there real, like, you got to pay close attention. A little bit of darker. Here we go. Right in that circular. Same thing as here. I'm going to do that with markers when I'm done. I think that's pretty good. So right in there. Also, I'm going to keep some darker tones here in the bottom part of this part of the letter E. Over here. Okay. And then also all in here. All in here. Create like a darker tone. Right? And you add a very little speck of black. And then mix it with the red. So you want to get it in here. If it's too dark, just add more red. You can always fix it. There are no mistakes in art, just room for opportunities. Okay, see that? And then add more red. No mixing, no rinsing. Over here. And I think on the tip over here. Right here in this crease, right in this corner. Right about here. Also, the tip of my brush is, my hand is shaking. Where else can I put it? Okay, I'm going to put it here in the bottom, the very bottom over here. Right? Oh boy. Let me turn this around, see if I can fix that. That little strand of hair from my brush. See, can you see that? Did something I didn't like, so I'm going to fix it. Gonna mix some black and some red together. See that little strand? You probably can't see that. Can you see that? Do you see that little guy? That little guy? That's what I'm talking about. That little guy. Oh boy. So. I did it. I was able to get in there. Gonna add some red paint. Okay. Add some more red paint. Go in here. Okay. In here. Over here. Now, let me put this brush down and I'm going to turn it back around. Okay. All right. So now I'm gonna dip my brush into the red color paint and a little bit of white, a little bit of red, a little bit of white again. So all those colors are right in there. And I'm going to use some downward feathery strokes like I did earlier with the other letters. And see what I'm doing? Some light strokes, feathery strokes, like feathery strokes. Get some pink in there. Okay. Get some white. Okay. Get some white. Some white. Get some white. Some pink. Some pink. Some white. A little bit of white. Some white. Just dipping the brush. Okay. Let's see some white over here. Circular motions. Okay, some white, some pink, some red, some red, more red. My red is finished. I believe my red is finished. Pink. Just take a look. Maybe some white. Some white again. Some red. Alrighty. And we're almost done here. So you add it wherever you want to put it. Maybe some white. My letter V, just a little, very light, very little. That's too much. It's supposed to be darker. Let's clean that up. That's supposed to be the darker letter. Let's see if I could fix my too much white. I don't want too much white. Let's see. I'll blend that in there more. I'm gonna blend it in there. See if I could blend that in there. Okay. Does it still look dark? All right, so I'm gonna leave it at that. Clean. Wipe the brushes really good. So that's the last one that I just finished working on. And most of it is done. I think this is dry. These are drying. So I'm going to focus on the letter L in the meantime while they're drying. So I'm going to get some markers. I use Prismacolor markers. on my paintings when they're done. So for example, with this, I use some markers, and I may still add some more markers with this. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. That looks wet, so I'm not gonna touch that. So I'm gonna get some purple. This is a purple marker. I'm gonna get maybe a bright red orangey color. I can barely see this. Anyway, Prismacolor. This is the brand of markers that I like to use. So take a look, Prismacolor. You can also use black, of course. And I'm not gonna use, sometimes I use brown or blue. Maybe I use blue. Maybe. In any case, I'm gonna start off with purple, red. Actually, this is more orange. This is optional. This is a suggestion. You don't have to do the markers if you don't like. You can. Some people would stop at this. This would be considered. This would be considered finished. But I'm just gonna add a little extra pizzazz, which I like doing with my paintings, with my signage. So I'm gonna show you with the first letter what that looks like. So these markers have a tip like this. Looks like an eyeliner that you use on eye makeup. So it's pretty much the same thing. You add an eyeliner. Instead of here, you're gonna add eyeliner to your paintings. So for example, if I want to, make sure this is dry. If I wanna go in here, okay, I'll go in here. Okay, so I'll go in here, and it gives it a nice, sharper, clean look, more precision. If I want to, I would, once this is dry, this is almost dry. So for example, I would go inside here at the very end of the little heart. And maybe I'll add it here at the tip. Okay, I may add it here as well. In this case, I could also use black. I use a little bit of purple, I use a little bit of black. So right in here. Okay. I may go in here again also. I'll use it wherever I feel I need to use it, where I would like to put it. So I'm gonna go probably, once this dries, I'm gonna go all in here, and I'm gonna use these markers. So since this is still drying, I won't touch that right now. So it's gonna look like this. So let's use this as an example while this is drying. Okay, this is still drying. Okay, this is totally dry. So I'm gonna add some over here. Right, I'm gonna turn my canvas around. Okay. And then I'm gonna go in here. Go in here. To give you an idea of what I just did, so you can see what I just did. Okay. I'm also going here. Keep in mind, you want to be careful where you touch. So I just finished doing that. That has to dry also. This is considered wet. It doesn't take as long as the paint to dry, but you don't want to place your finger right on top of the area where you just finished adding the markings, because then it could smudge and smear your painting. And then you have to go back in there and do it again. So for example, I'm doing right in here. Okay. Maybe I'll change colors. I'll leave that alone, let that dry. Switch to the color black. And I'm gonna go right along the side of the heart over here. So this is, can you see that? Maybe I do a separate video just for this alone, because that does take some time. It is time consuming. Make sure this is dry. So with this, the letter E, I'm going to use another marker color. This is more like an orangey red color. So I'm gonna go right inside there. Okay, you probably can't see that from where you're sitting, but that's what I just did. So right here. Okay, can you see? Right in here. Okay. I may go in here. And then you can clean up all your edges with markers. So now, right now, I'm going to finish this painting that I worked on today. Okay. And we will close with our Paint with Faith song. So please repeat after me. I know I can paint what I want to paint. If I don't know the way, I could paint with faith. One more time. I know I can paint what I want to paint. If I don't know the way, I could paint with faith. Thank you for painting with me today, and have a great day. Bye-bye.